Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. It's the 1st of January, 2024. That's it. I know some people are already sort of heading towards the 2nd. So if you can just pop me a comment down below and let me know how today went, that would be absolutely fantastic. And what else is fantastic? You are. You are for being here on the 1st of the year. You look amazing, by the way. And I hope you continue doing so for the rest of 2024. What sort of year are we going to have? Who knows? But one thing I do know is there's always something to talk about, like I say. And on this channel, we've got lots of things coming, more lives, more cases, more videos, more debates, and more of you. Isn't that right? More of you? Don't know what he's doing. He wants to come up, then he gets up. Now he wants to find someone else. But anyway, I thought I'd do this video today because a lot of you had emailed, and it seems to be a recurring question or a recurring feeling. And this is after or in the aftermath of the demolition, dropping of 1122 King Road. And many people have kind of questioned as to whether this was even legal. Was this legal? Was this destruction of evidence? Or spoliation of evidence, as some refer to it. And spoliation of evidence is something that Idaho does actually recognise. But there seems to be a bit of a caveat to it all, and I may just have, I don't know, misunderstood sort of the laws in the US. It's very, very possible that that's the case. At the end of the day, what are you doing? I am from the UK, so I am unfamiliar with a lot of your laws, and they do vary between the UK and US, and I'm not ignorant to that. But from what I can make out, it seems to be who does the destroying of the evidence, as to whether that is deemed as not right, shall we say. And I think the issue that we have in the Idaho 4 case is who indeed ordered and carried out the demolition of 1122 King Road, and the argument as to whether that entity was anything to do with the case. Are you trying to eat the mic? Because ultimately, if somebody, say Brian Koberger's family owned that property, and this was done, in this house, and they had a connection to that property, and they then demolished the house, that would certainly be classed as destruction of evidence, and that would be argumentative, or there would be an argument to whether they had demolished that property to hide things in order to protect Brian. If it was just the demolition of the property under the instruction of the prosecution, it could also be argued that they had demolished it in order to remove a fairness element to the trial with respect of Brian Koberger. So we put you down. I'm sure he'll be back. Now I'm covered in hair. So yes, I'll bring this up on the screen. This is regarding spoliation of evidence, and it does seem to be a real thing. Spoliation of evidence occurs when someone with an obligation to preserve evidence with regard to a legal claim neglects to do so or intentionally fails to do so. Such a failure to preserve evidence can take place by destruction of the evidence, damage to the evidence, or loss of the evidence. First-party spoliation claims are those claims for destruction or alteration of evidence brought against parties to underlying litigation. Conversely, third-party spoliation claims are those destruction or alteration of evidence claims against non-parties to underlying litigation. It's a lot of legal verbiage, and we can all get lost in that. But what I'm trying to get at is it is something that is recognised. So there has to be a determination as to whether 1122 King Road could be considered as evidence. Was it viable for that to stay up for the preservation of the hunt for justice? And that's the arguable point. And I think that's something that we just don't know. There isn't any clear answer to it. We know that they went into the property. We know that they were doing 3D renders of it using LiDAR scanning technology. So did they get everything from it? And I suppose the argument could go the other way, because you could say, well, they clearly hadn't finished with it, because at one stage earlier on they had said they were done with it. They'd done all the LiDAR scanning back at the beginning of last year. And then a few months later, when all this come about, this was going to be demolished, all of a sudden everybody's rushing back to the house as if it was, we need to get this done before this house goes. And that shouldn't be the case. The legal parties, in my opinion, they were being forced to go into this property and rush what they needed to do because they are working on the timeline of the university to destroy it. But this becomes very unclear when you've got the prosecution and the defense both in agreement that that property, it's okay to go. But I don't understand how they could have concluded that if both of them, after the fact, were needing to go back into the property. That's almost like on 1 month saying, yeah, we don't need it anymore, we're happy for it to be destroyed, but then both going in there, 2 or 3 months later, proving that the statement they had made earlier was in fact incorrect. So whose timeline was this on? Whose timeline was this case on? And bearing in mind, this is a capital case. This is a person who has been accused. We haven't yet seen, and I'm going to keep saying it, we haven't seen enough evidence in the public eye to convict this guy, certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt, however much you want to argue that. We haven't seen enough. Yes, there may be enough. Who knows? We won't know until this goes to trial. He's now trying to lay on my feet. Do you want to come back? I told you it wouldn't be long before he was back. And this is what I'm trying to get at. This is a very, very complex and important case, but when you're talking about somebody potentially losing their life for a crime and the acquisition of justice for such a heinous act, surely everybody has got to be very clear in the position that they are in. You know, are they done with the house? Are they not done with the house? Are we? It's okay to go. No, it's not. We need to go back in there. We need to go back in there in a hurry. Literally, a day or two before the house is going down, like he's going down. It just seems to me like this case, the prosecution and the defense weren't on their timelines. They weren't working on, on what was right for the trial. They were working on what they were being forced to work on because the college wanted to rip that out from under everybody's feet, and you've got the family statements as well, where you see Steve Gonsalves, or a representative of the Steve Gonsalves family, have turned around and almost said, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We know that Ethan Chapin's family are so far up the sorority and fraternity's arse, you don't know where they start and the other one ends. And perhaps that's just the camp that they've got into bed with because that's the one that suits them and their family. So they weren't ever going to argue against them. So Xana's family as well. Xana's family, we know who exists in Xana's family, and perhaps they wouldn't have been in the best position to go up against the university. I can pretty much guarantee how that would have ended. But I don't know what you guys think. I still think there's a very, very grey area, and one that perhaps later on, in the event that Brian Kohberger is found guilty, it's certainly, again, in my opinion, grounds for appeal. Because the fact that house, again, in my opinion, is such an important piece of the puzzle in terms of the jury being given an ability to see where this happened, see vantage points into the property, round the property, who could see the property from other places. To me, the house should never have gone. And to me, the people who should have made that decision, the people who should have been the people in control of that property, in control of that crime scene, should have been the people who are in control and playing parts in the trial itself, not someone on the peripheral whose interests are solely on the way that the area looks for them. How do we look? How does this look for us? How does it affect our business? You're a business, get over it. This is a heinous act that happened, and there are 4 people who lost their lives. There's another person who could potentially lose their life, and it shouldn't matter to you how that makes you look. you shouldn't concern yourself with that because it's fuck all to do with you. It's nothing to do with you. This is to do with the pursuit of justice. Seemingly in Idaho, they had different thoughts. Let me know down below. Was it right? Was it wrong? Is it grounds for appeal later on down the line? Is the University of Idaho just caring about the way that they're perceived by the public and potential people coming in? Did they worry that this was going to affect the acquisition of Phoenix University, or were they actually doing something much more nefarious, and that is concerned that potentially the guy who has been arrested and charged for this crime isn't the person who done it, and they were scared that there would be something found in there that would come back and bite the university on the arse even harder? Were they in the mindset of perhaps destroying any and all evidence, fearing that should Brian Kohberger be found innocent, that someone else would come under the spotlight again? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in video 2 later today.